Hello, welcome back. We are on chapter 6, Rational Expressions, and we will work today on section 6.6, Rational Equations involving problem solving. Objective 1 is to solve an equation containing rational expressions for a specified variable. The step 1 to solve an equation for a specified variable is to clear the equation of fractions or rational expressions by multiplying each side of the equation by the least common denominator. The next step is to use the distributive property to remove grouping symbols such as parentheses, and step 3, combine like terms on each side of the equation. Step 4. Use the addition property of equality to rewrite the equation as an equivalent one with terms containing the specified variable on one side and all other terms on the other side. And step 5. Use the distributive property and the multiplication property of equality to get the specified variable alone. So let's work on this example. Solve the following equation for R1. So we need to have only R1 in one side of the equation, and everything else on the other side of the equation, right? Everything else on the other side of the equation. The first step here is to find the least common denominator. We have the three denominators here: R, R1, and R2. And we have to put together all the unique factors to find the least common denominator. And one unique factor is R, another one is R1, and another one is R2. Excuse me. This is the least common denominator. We can apply this, multiplying both sides of the equation by the least common denominator. R times R1 times R2 here, and R times R1 times R2 on the other side, both sides. Okay, let's get rid of this. We already know the least common denominator. Excuse me. Okay, now we will apply the distributive property, and I will do this step by step so you see everything that we are doing. Distributive property here, so R times R1 times R2 multiplied by 1 over R equals R times R1 times R2 multiplied by 1 right here over R1 plus R times R1 times R2 multiplied by 1. Now this one here over R2. We can simplify this R here with that. We can simplify R1 here with that. And we can simplify R2 here with that. Okay? Let's rewrite what remains. Remains R1 times R2 in one side, and R times R2 plus R times R1. Great, but remember that we are solving this for, let me uncover here, we are solving this for R1. We need to make everything that we can to leave only R1 in one side of the equation and everything else on the other side of the equation. So we have R1 here and we have R1 there. Let's move everything that have R1 to one side, maybe to the left hand side, right? And we will, to be able to do this, we're going to subtract on both sides of the equation R times R1. Subtract on both sides R times R1. Okay? That means R1 times R2 minus R times R1 equals to r times r2, and this is we're gonna eliminate, we're gonna simplify, right? Great. Now we can another thing that we can do here to make sure we have just r1 in this left hand side of the equation is factor out r1 times r2 minus r equals r times r2, and finally apply multiplication property and divide both sides by r2 minus r, because then we can simplify this one here, and as a result we will have r1 equals to r times r2 over and r2 minus r. This is the solution for r equals r1 of the given equation. Good. Moving on to the next objective, and now the objective is to solve number problems by writing equations containing rational expressions. An example here, this is the problem. The quotient of a number and 9 times its reciprocal is 1. Find the number. First step when you're solving this kind of word problems, we need to understand, read and reread to understand the problem. Okay? Let's call the number, the variable n is going to be the number. Okay? And if n is the number that the problem mentions, the quotient of a number is the reciprocal of the number is 1 over n, right? And this is the phrase that we're going to translate into math. A number, the number is n. The quotient of the number and 9 times its reciprocal, 9 times the reciprocal is going to be 1 over n, is equals to 1. This is how we translate the word problem, the statement in the question. And now we can write down, we have an equation representing this word problem, which will be this one, right? If we have an equation, we can solve it. So let's solve. And the first step, let's simplify here, because 9 times 1 over n is the same thing as 9 over n, right? Equals to 1. And if you're dividing, you remember, when you're dividing by a fraction, by a rational expression, is the same thing, is equivalent to the multiplication by the reciprocal. You invert the next one, n over 9. So this kind of multiplication equals to 1. And n times n we know is equals to, let me get more space here, n times n is n squared over 9 equals 1. And we can multiply both sides. Multiply both sides by 9. So multiply by 9 here, and multiply by 9 over there, and then we're gonna have, you can simplify, right? 9 divided by 9 is 1. N squared equals 1 times 9, it's 9. The numbers that can solve this this equation here now are going to be the positive square root of 9 and the negative square root of 9. So n can be equal to positive square root of 9, that means n equals 3, and n also, or n can be equal to negative square root of 9, negative 3. Those are the possible answers the solution for this word problem, right? For this equation. It's kind of a number problem containing rational expressions. Finally, one step that we cannot forget is to check. Plug in the number that you found, the numbers actually that you found as solutions for the equation, and substitute in the original equation back into the problem. If you find true statements, that means you can confirm the numbers are going to be solution for the problem. Next objective, number 3, solve problems modeled by proportions. And a few definitions. A ratio is the quotient of two numbers or two quantities. The ratio of the numbers a and b can also be written as a ratio b or a over b. The units associated with the ratio are important. The units should match, and if the units do not match, it's called a rate and rather than a ratio. So it's going to be a rate. Let's check another definition. Proportion is going to be two ratios or rates that are equal to each other. So this is an example, is how it looks like a proportion. We can rewrite the proportion by multiplying by the least common denominator, b times d. This simplifies the proportion as a times d equals b times c, and we usually refer to this as the cross product, like the cross product, something like that. A times d equals b times c. Okay? Here it is an example. If a 170-pound person weighs approximately 65 pounds on Mars, how much does a 9,000-pound satellite weigh? So we will work out here, we will write down the proportion. So if 170-pound person, this is on Earth, right? This is the weight on Earth. This is the weight on Earth, and this is the weight on Mars. And we're gonna write down on this side here of the proportion everything that's on Earth. This is on Earth. On the other side of the proportion, everything that's on Mars. So 170 on Earth over 9,000 is going to be equal, now on Mars, 65 pounds on Mars over the weight of the satellite on Mars, and we can call this x. We don't know, we call variable x. And we use the cross multiplication. Cross multiplication means 170 times x equals 9,000 times 65. Divide both sides by 170 and you have the solution. X equals 9,000 times 65 over 170, which is approximately equal to 3,441 pounds. Okay, so this is an example of proportion and how to apply the cross multiplication to find the answer for this question. Objective 4, solve problems about work. And let's go straight to an example. If we have an experienced roofer that can roof a house in 26 hours, a beginner needs 39 hours to do the same job. How long will it take if the two roofers work together? So read and reread to understand the problem. By using the time for each roofer to complete the job alone, we can figure out the corresponding work rates. So the time of the experienced roofer is 26 hours, right? The experienced roofer spends 26 hours working the whole roof, and the beginner spends 39 hours working. Together they're gonna spend T hours. We don't know yet. We want to calculate, right? T hours. But one thing that we can actually find out right now is the proportion of the job that each one is gonna work, is going to complete per hour. So each in each hour, the experienced roofer is gonna work one roof over 26. 1/26 of the roof he is going to finish. He's going to work in 1 hour, right? And the beginners is going to work 1/39 of the roof. This is the proportion of the job the beginners work each hour. Together, the production is going to be one roof for each T hours, right? Since we have the rate of the two roofers working together, the rate of them working together is equal to the which is 1 over T, is the rate of them working together, is equal to the sum of the rates. So if you put them together to work, one is gonna work in 1 hour 1 over 26, the experienced one, and the other one is gonna work 1 of 39 of the roof in 1 hour, each hour, okay? Now we have a rational expression, a rational equation, and we can solve it. We're going to be able to solve it by applying our knowledge of rational equations, how to solve rational equations. And the first step, as we remember, is to find the lowest common denominator. We have here three different denominators, 26, 39, and t, right? 36, 29, and t. But 36 we can factor it out, it's 2 times 13, right? And actually 39 we also can factor it out as 3 times 13. And t is t, we cannot factor it out. So let's put together the unique factors to find the least common denominator. One unique factor is 2, another one is 3, another is 13, and another is t. 2 times 3 times 13 is going to be 78t. This is the least common denominator. Multiply on both sides by the least common denominator, times 78t, and let's work step by step here. Let's move all the way down here. 78t, let's work the distributive property, okay, distributive property. 78t, and just a little bit more space, okay, over 26 plus this times 1, okay, this one here, 78t times 1 over 39 equals, and now here 78t times 1 over t. We can simplify here. 78 divided by 26 is 3, right? 78 divided by 39 is going to be 2, and t divided by t is 1. What remains is 3 times t plus 2 times t equals 78. Combine like terms, 5t equals 78, t equals 78 over 5. Okay. That means the time that the roofers will spend to work together is going to be, you divide 78 by 5, you're going to find approximately 15.6 hours. Don't forget, at the end, when you find a solution, always try it out. Always check by substituting, plugging in the solution that you found on the original equation. And if you find a true statement, that confirms that the solution that you found is actually solution for the problem. Objective number 5, solve problems about distance, rate and time. And there's an example here. The speed of lazy rivers current is 5 miles per hour. This is the current. A boat travels 20 miles downstream in the same river as traveling 10 miles upstream. The same time. Find the speed of the boat in still water. Understand? Read and reread. We can use the formula distance equals rate times time, and then we can rewrite the formula to find time like this: time equals distance over rate. We note that the rate of the boat downstream would be the rate in still water plus the water current, right? Downstream the water current is helping, and the rate of the boat upstream would be the rate in still water minus the water current, because the water current now is holding back the boat. And we can summarize it, because the distance the boat travels downstream is 20 and upstream is 10 miles, right? The rate is going to be, if the current is 5 miles per hour, the rate of the current, the rate of the boat downstream is r plus 5 and upstream is r minus 5. And the time, we use this formula here: time equals distance over rate. The time is going to be distance, 20, divided by rate, and down here the time is going to be this distance, 10, divided by, let me just fix this, divided by the rate upstream. And the problem states that the time to travel down river was the same as the time to travel up river. Then we get the equation 20, we're gonna make it equal, right? Both equal. 20 over r plus 5 equals 10 over r minus 5. To solve, we found the equation, great, and we have the equation here. Now we can solve it. We need to solve it. First step, find the lowest common denominator, we know the lowest common denominator is the combination of the unique factors. We have one unique factor is r plus 5, another unique factor is r minus 5. Multiply both sides. Let's multiply here both sides by the least common denominator, r plus 5 times r minus 5, r plus 5 times r minus 5. Okay, and this will result r plus 5 down here. R plus 5 times r minus 5 times 20 over r plus 5 equals to r plus 5 times r minus 5 times 10 over r minus 5. Great. We simplify, right? We can simplify here r minus 5 and r minus 5, and over there r plus 5 and r plus 5. Work out the distributive property here and there, and distributive property here and there. 20 times r minus 5 times r, minus 5 times 20, 20 times negative 5 is negative 100, equals 10 times r plus 10 times 5, 50. Let's move everything that has variable to the left hand side. Okay, subtract r on both, negative 10r, add negative 10r on both sides, and let's get rid of this 100, negative 100 here, and move to the other side, just like that. So this we eliminate, we simplify, and then 10r equals 50 plus 100 and 100 is 150, and divide both sides by 10. We find finally r equals 15, and 15 is the rate. 15 is in miles per hour, right? 15 miles per hour. Don't forget to check you found 15 miles per hour. Then now you apply, you plug into the original equation and check if you're going to find a true statement. Finding the true statement, you can confirm this is the correct solution for the problem. And that's the end of section 6.6. Thank you for watching.